So let's try a couple of equations here. And for these types of problems, you always want to have a 0 on one side. So I plan on moving this to the other side. So here we would add 2 tangent of theta to the left-hand side so that there's gone. And here on the left, we'd have square root 2 tangent secant, and then plus 2 tangent theta equals 0. And then what you do is you look at the two terms and you ask yourself, what is common to both terms? What do you see written in both terms? The common ground that they have is tangent of theta. That's the greatest common factor. And that is what you want to pull out to the front. So if I divide this away from the first piece, I'd be left with square root 2 secant. Okay. And then if I divide this away from that, I'm left with the coefficient of positive 2. And now I have two items that are being multiplied, and it's 0, which means that either one could be 0 or both. So for that reason, you set each of these pieces equal to 0, and you proceed from there. So we have two equations. Now, what are we going to do with tangent? Remember, what you can do with tangent, amongst the many things, is on the unit circle, tangent is y over x, right? Tangent is y over x. So here, this can be looked at. Tangent could be viewed as y over x, still equals 0. And you have a fraction equaling 0. So if a fraction equals 0, that implies that the numerator is 0. So this gives us that y has to be 0. So where does that happen? We're on the unit circle. Where do you see a y coordinate of 0? I see a y 0 there and there. So that would be at 0 and at a pi. Or 0 and 180, whatever they prefer. I don't think they said here, so I'll keep it radians. 0 and pi. So on this answer, theta is 0, theta is pi. Remember, the goal is always theta. That's always the goal. But we use x's and y's to discover the location. But the answer is always theta. How about this one here? So let's subtract the 2 to the other side. So the 2 would, of course, be negative. And then I want to get this by itself, so I'll divide. So when you divide and divide, these are gone. Type this into a calculator, and it'll say that right there. Ignore the typo. So this is what we have. All right, we have secant alone. Calculator said this. Now, what are we going to do with secant? Secant, what are we going to do? What can we do? Secant is like 1 over x. So secant, this is like 1 over x equals negative square root 2. But look, I like it when it's just like y or x. I don't want it in the denominator, right? I want the x to be in the top. So what I'll do is I'm going to put a 1 in the bottom. And now it's a fraction equals a fraction. And remember that one trick that one day, if you have a fraction equals a fraction, what you can do is turn both sides upside down. So if I turn this upside down, right, if I flip that, it'll just be x. If I turn this upside down, it'll be negative 1 over square root 2. We can type that into a calculator, and that'll say x equals negative square root 2 over 2. And this is good, because this is going to tell us about theta, yeah? So where on the unit circle do you see x coordinates that say that? X coordinates. I see it there, and I see it there. So that would be 3 pi fourths and 5 pi fourths. So 3 pi fourths and 5 pi fourths. So altogether, these 4 angles give us our final answer. So here again, we want a 0 on one side, so let's add this to the left-hand side. Doing so would give us cotangent squared theta plus square root 3 cotangent of theta equals 0. The common factor here would be cotangent of theta. And if you take away cotangent of theta from the square of cotangent of theta, there would be an extra copy left over, right? And then plus square root 3. So I think this is what we have. And if ever you're unsure, if you distribute, you should get back what you had before. So now that we've reached this point, you can set each piece equal to 0. Set this and this equal to 0. Okay, and then let's see. So we have two smaller equations. This one here, cotangent, if you look at your cheat sheet, cotangent is x over y. And okay, look, a fraction equals 0. That implies that the numerator, so the implication here is that x equals 0. And so look for that. Where is x 0? X is 0 here and here. So we have pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. So that's what we get from this one equation. What about this equation? Subtract that to this side. Cotangent equals negative square root 3. And again, cotangent can be viewed as x over y. Okay. And now here's the question. Which angle do I go to so that the x divided by the y equals this number here? It's a matter of experimentation. Like for instance, go this divided by that, this divided by this. Test them, see what works. Find the location where the x divided by the y is that number. And I can tell you that that would happen, it's gonna happen here. If you go this divided by that, right, x over y, if you go this over that, it's gonna be this. So here and also here. So we have 5 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. So 5 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. So it looks as though our answers would be these ones together, right? All four of these constitute your solution set.